Is that the growth we wanted? Who was in charge of that growth? What did we do right to get that increased growth? Or is it what the young man in the back said, oh, it's the growth that is tearing up our yards and that stuff? No, we need to plan ahead and plan 10 years out and say, we can do growth and we want positive growth. With that positive growth means more homeowners who are responsible and paying taxes. We have more businesses paying taxes. That's a vision for the future. That's positive business. Not saying, okay, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Let's put together a plan and a vision that 10 years from now, we will be better off than we were right now. Because in 2000, when they did the census, how were you doing? Now, 2013, are you better or are you worse? Where's your value? Where's your property value? How's our downtown look based upon that 13 years? I'm saying in 2020, we need to have a vision and start implementing it because we've wasted a lot of time not planning for the growth. So I think we need to grow our way out of it, and by doing that, we need to protect our business people.
That's another thing I think is very, very important, is to work very cooperatively with our economic development director so that we can attract businesses into town, so that we can expand businesses that we already have, which will broaden our tax base. There's been many water breaks all over town. I appreciate what you're saying, Mary, because I know that's the older part of town, and that's where a lot of the need is. That's why we were very proactive when we did the 65 corridor, is getting rid of all those old water mains and all of those old lines so that we wouldn't have to tear up that perfectly new road. And it is very difficult to do that. We've spent the money to get the new overlay, the new paving done, and that sort of thing, and then you have a water main break. And that is very disheartening. The one thing the county, or the city has done, is work cooperatively with the county for the DuraPatch patching machine for our roads. And it's so much better than the cold patch that they used to put down. And now they have the DuraPatch that puts down a much better patch. But we don't want new roads to be patched, but we just don't know what water main is going to break at what time.
I'll move on to the next question. City Council member Diane Prawley recently attended a conference with other city leaders from Iowa. When she came back, she said one of the issues that she discussed with other leaders was the fact that housing has become an issue in many communities like Hampton across the state. What do you think of the housing situation right now? And specifically, is it adequate enough for the growing population you say we have, Brooke? And also, do we need more rentals or do we need more residential homes? And this one we'll start off with Diane.
Okay. We know there is a housing shortage here. And yes, we need, I think, both. The new homes as well as the new multiple residential properties. When I was mayor, we also passed through a tax incentive to help homeowners with these costs by lowering their taxes on a certain dollar amount that they spend. Same way with businesses. And I attended many of those meetings too, and you do come back with lots and lots of information. And yes, we do need the new homes, or to refurbish the old homes that we have, if they're refurbishable. And we do need the multiple residential properties. It is a true need here, and we've known that for quite some time.
I think I've been working with this on Main Street, Iowa, so for a long time. For the 4 years that we started looking in our community and started saying, what are we doing in our downtown community? Second story housing, how do we help increase and incentivize people to fix up their upstairs apartments and keep our downtown property values high? Also, when you go around the 10 block perimeter of our downtown, it's all zoned multi-family. So those wonderful homes that we have, people are taking and putting multiple people in. There are also landowners or renters here that are renting by the head. That's not the kind of renters and tenants we want. We want families here. We want people who want to invest in their community and keep our community and our values high. That's the kind of community I want to be a part of and be a part of growing. I believe there's a big demand for rental property at the high-end level. However, people aren't building them. How do we start working on our zoning and working on our multifamily, the investors, the people who are buying the homes? Are we incentivizing them that may have 4 or 5 homes Do we giving them a tax break like if I own 29 residential like Diane talked about? That's what's being considered. If I had all these apartments all in one place, I get a tax break. What are we doing for the people that have 5 or 6 who are trying to keep their properties up? Are we giving them a tax break? Are we incentivizing them, the good landlords who are trying to keep our property values high? Are we incentivizing them to buy more and fixing them up? I think that's where we need to start at. And I've seen those multiple plans. I've seen them from people coming in saying, I'd like to buy more houses, but it's de-incentivizing me to buy that $10,000 house and to put all this money in because I'm going to get taxed like crazy. So it's better for me to keep it at $10,000 and just be a slumlord. That's not the kind of landowners we want, and that's not the kind of tenants we want. So that's the incentivizing, the plan, and the vision I have for our community.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions about housing or any issues related to housing? Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, state your name.
No, Brian. I'm curious what both of you think, what role this rental housing code that was put in place a few years back has had upon, the rental market here in town. And would you change anything about it now?
Start off with Diane on this one for a minute.
I guess I don't understand what the code enforcement we have for rental properties.
Well, a few years back, I don't know if you were mayor at the time, I think you were, Diane, but the city passed a rental housing code that required inspections, fees, all sorts of extra things. And I guess I want to know if you think that had any kind of effect upon the state of rental housing here in the town, and I'm curious as to whether or not either one of you think anything should be changed about that.
In my own personal opinion, yes, I do think that helped a great deal. And the purpose of that was to make the homes more inhabitable, but more safe also, make it much safer for the families. And I know they have revisited this, different times of the rental code or rental inspection process. But it did bring a lot of those rental properties up to code, making it a safer environment for families to live in and to rent.
I disagree completely. I thought it was the worst thing ever to job out our rental code. Once we had a third-party company come into our community to point out everything that was wrong, it drove our landowners out of the business. It drove it even further down by saying, I won't even fix it. I'll get into this weird buying on contract issue that's going on today, which is appalling, I think, that people who don't even read English are signing contracts thinking they're leasing or renting an apartment when really it's a contract to buy with no money down, and you pay X amount of dollars per month and with a balloon payment in 5 years that they have no way of getting financing on. I believe we sit down with our 3 locally owned banks, and come up with a plan to start incentivizing more of the people who own rental properties to come into code. And again, maybe offering some incentives to own multiple properties and to be able to maintain them and take them up without having, tax abatement for these rental owners might be an issue. I don't know. These are things that Ron does a great job, but I know that Main Street, Iowa has great ideas on this. And I think we need to start looking out there and start policing our own. Doug Tarr does our inspections now. I've been with him on 3 of them this last month, and man, he knows what we need to do, and he knows where the problem properties are. We don't need a third-party company to come in to tell us where our properties are. So I say keep it local. We know where the problems are. It's real easy. Just drive around.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a comment.
Go ahead.
You made a comment about renting by the head. You made a comment about people signing things who don't really speak English. Kind of seems like those comments are aimed at a certain segment of our population, which is what's growing the most rapidly right now. Kind of sounds a little bit racist.
Brooke, can you answer that for a minute?
I'm sorry, I don't think it's a racist comment on whether they can read English or not. They, being the community involved, problem is the landlords are putting pages in there. We want people to survive, living wages, a lot of those things. It's not hard to say. I don't think it's a racist judgment whatsoever.
Go ahead. What's your name?
My name's Vicki Crowley,
Okay.
and Brooke has been probably one of the strongest advocates for our Hispanic population. So I guess I do agree with that comment 100%. I've seen firsthand a lot of the things that people don't always see that goes on, that Brooke does extra for people, so.
That leads us into the next question. We do have a growing Latino Hispanic population. Officially, the population of Hampton is somewhere a little less than 5,000 people. Depending on who you speak with in the city, there's an estimated 2,000 Latinos living here. What do you think of the population growth of Latinos and Hispanics, and how do we assimilate them better into the community in businesses, schools, and city activities? And we'll start off with Diane here.
Okay. Yes, our population, Hispanic population has grown a great deal. And I think when you're talking about properties and buying those and whatever, there needs to be honesty on both sides of the fence. The person, the homeowner who is selling it needs to be honest to the Hispanic population so they don't have any surprises at the end. I worked public health, and I went into a lot of those Hispanic homes. And you know, you may think it's kind of all Hispanic. No, it is not. I have been there, I have seen it. We have plenty of white people who don't take care of their properties either. What we tried to do was get our Department of Public Health in there to help them as much as what we could. There's lots of programs out there that can help them. You know, there's the rental assistance, there's the heating assistance, there's lots of assistant programs out there for them, and that's what we tried to funnel them into, was getting help with some of these programs so that the money they do have, they can spend on appropriate housing and fixing up their homes. And the codes that were enforced are only those codes that are the law. They didn't go in there and say, you need to do this, this, and this, because I do that at my house and that's the way I like it. No, you step back and you enforce what the laws are and help them out, you know, as much as what you can.